Hey guys, Akil here. Welcome back to the Trading Coach Podcast. In today's episode, we're going to talk about 8 subconscious trading behaviors. This is a video episode for you Spodcasters and you YouTubers. If you want to see me, Spodcasters, Spotify, podcasters. If you want to see me, head over to the platform so that you can. If not, you can always listen as usual on your favorite podcasting app. Now, today's episode comes from an article that I recently read on one of my favorite websites. It's called New Trader U, just the letter U, not Y-O-U. And it's from a great couple, Holly and Steve Burns, who, at least for me, are kind of like trading space legends. I've had some good conversations with Steve over the past years. I thought I was a dedicated person. I remember him telling me a story about how he basically missed like the entire 90s because he was dedicated to trading and nothing else. And I do want to do them a favor, not that they asked me, but because I always like giving you guys book recommendations. It's a great site if you want to read articles. They have there's lots of books and they're very beginner based. Trading specifically, 2 that I have that I really enjoyed are, I don't know which one this is, New Trader, Rich Trader. This is number 2 right here. There is one that is number 1. I think I lent it out and never got it back. But it's a great book and it's written the way that I would write a book if I ever were to do one. In fact, I started writing a book and then I read the New Trader, Rich Trader book and I said the idea was already taken because my idea of writing books is I don't want to give you something kind of boring that just talks trader jargon. We do enough of this on the podcast, but I wanted to create a story, really tell my story of how I developed as a trader, kind of make it fun, and then of course sprinkle lessons there. And that's exactly how that book is, where it's like a conversation between a newer trader and a kind of like a mentor type of figure. And they're giving you really, really, really good trading tips, but not boring in the form of like a story. So it's really creative. Check both those books out. They got a lot more books as well. I think I have an options book somewhere here. There's a million things behind me, but a lot of good books there. Anyway, to the point. Let's talk about these 8 subconscious behaviors. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you kind of a snippet of the article, and then I'm going to give my opinion based on my experience in trading and working with other traders, right? Now, the idea of this article is like these behaviors they stem from like childhood experiences. So like if you ever, hear anything about childhood and it causes that's why I'm saying it. I'm not going to dig into the trauma and stuff of your childhood and what you can do about it, but I just want to bring your attention to these behaviors. And I want you to be really honest with yourself and ask yourself, is this me? And if so, what can I do about it? So, number 1, excessive people pleasing. When children's emotions and needs are routinely ignored or dismissed, they may internalize and believe that their feelings and desires are unimportant. As adults, this often manifests as excessive people pleasing. They may find themselves constantly seeking approval, struggling to say no, prioritizing others' needs over their own. At the core of this behavior is a deep-seated fear of rejection and a desperate need for the acceptance that they did not receive as a childhood. So, excessive people pleasing. I see this a lot with traders in the form of they need approval for everything before they can take action or believe it in their own right. And it's an interesting situation because there is a point, and on our platform we have a community, and I always kind of say, hey guys, reach out to me, reach out to other traders, ask ideas, right? That's how you get better, right? You can go quicker by yourself, you can go further with a community. And there is a level in the developmental process of a trader where you're kind of figuring things out. You're learning things for the first time. You're trading your RAS to see certain patterns and developments. And you need to ask if you're seeing it right. Like, hey, is this a valid X to A leg, or is this double bottom legit, right? And in that part of your developmental phase, yes, you should be asking those questions. But there also comes a part after that where eventually you have to have confidence that you know this stuff, where it's like, I know what a double bottom is. I know what a head and shoulders is. I can identify an X to A, whatever it may be. And you have to have that confidence to trust yourself. And it's at this point where I see a lot of traders get into trouble, where they're past that stage of learning. They're kind of at the point where we know they should know what they're looking at, but there's no confidence in their answer. It's still, hey, Akil, is this a double bottom? That's why if you're ever with me in a live room and, I have people phrase things a very certain way where it's like, hey, Akil, do we have a Gartley pattern on pound yen? And what's the first thing I tell them? I say, will you tell me yes or no first? I will lend you my opinion, but I want a definitive answer for you. I want you to tell me whether it is or whether it isn't, because I don't really care if you get the answer wrong or right. We're building the habit of coming to kind of having an opinion and sticking by it. And why that's important is because when you're by yourself in the markets, there may not be anyone to bounce ideas off of. If you have a trade that's setting up right now, you may not have the time to email Akil or text Akil or put it up on the chat and wait for my response before the trade is there. You've got to know whether it is or isn't. So eventually you have to be independent. You can't always be seeking approval from others. There's also other forms of this as well, where people will trade strategies that they don't really like or enjoy, but because a friend trades it or a mentor trades it, they feel like they have to because they need their approval. That's another thing of it, but we'll stick to this one. Number 2, chronic self-doubt. Growing up in an emotionally invalidating environment teaches children to question their perceptions, judgments, and experiences. This often leads to chronic self-doubt in adulthood. They may second guess their decisions, seek constant reassurance, and struggle to trust their instincts. This persuasive self-doubt can paralyze them from pursuing their goals and standing up for themselves, right? Kind of basically what I just told you before, but I want to add one more point to this. It's not just the seeking approval, right? So chronic self-doubt is not only seeking the approval from others and needing that kind of stamp of approval to move on, but it's also, I don't want to say defending, but sharing/defending your ideas with others, right? The trading space is a mean space, right? Outside of our community at tier 1 or whatever community you may have, if you venture off into the outskirts of trading, the social media world of trading and the trading forums, right? There's all types of weird stuff out there. There's all types of people that are just there for their ego. And again, I'm just generalizing things here. There are some great groups out there. I'm sure great communities. I know many traders that have great communities. But in general, trading forums, all this stuff, your average get-together spot for people is toxic. And what happens is if you ever have the guts to share an idea, you have to be able to defend it, right? You have to be able to defend it because someone is going to challenge you. It could be the greatest idea in the world, but someone, just because they like to argue, is going to say no. I shared this story with you before where I was lurking on the outskirts of a group. I guess I was peeking through the window of a group for a long time when I first started trading, just observing and watching because I was too nervous and scared to ever share my ideas. And I was reading a whole bunch of Tony Robbins stuff, and I was working on like building confidence. And one of it was like, you gotta take action and be confident and be brave and do it. You gotta walk on those hot coals and worry about what happens later, right? So I'm like, all right, I'm not gonna walk on hot coals because that seems like it'd be very bad for my feet. And I use my feet a lot as a track coach, but I will post something in this trading form. So I'm all nervous, I'm scared, I'm double, triple, quadruple checking my work. I take the screenshot, I make it look nice, all my arrows are pointed the right way, and I finally, boom, push the button. It's into the chat. It's out there. It's been thrown into the universe. I can't do anything, right? And I'm very happy with this idea. It was one of my best trading ideas. It was like a Eurodollar long or something like that. And I'm like, all right, I'm waiting for that trader to respond like, good idea, Akil, or whatever my avatar name was back there. Probably Scottie Pippen or something like that, right? But anyway, finally, I get a response. I'm like, ooh, here we go. It was like Pipzilla, right? Whoever's the big boss, right? The final boss on this forum. And it's like response to Eurodollar long idea. Yeah, Eurodollar is definitely going short. Bad idea. And I'm like, oh, I'm crushed. And at the time, I just thought, what would I say his name was? Pipzilla. Pipzilla was the best trader in the world because he has the most likes, the most hits, whatever experience points were on this thing. And I didn't know how to defend my own idea. I just assumed I was wrong because this trader, who I know nothing about his trading style, know nothing about if he's good or not. He just was the popular guy in the chat, had an alternative opinion. I didn't take the trade. Trade ended up being a massive winner. I missed it all because I was afraid and did not have confidence in myself. So that's very important. Number 3. Difficulty identifying and expressing emotions. Might still have a little bit of this. When emotions are dismissed or punished in childhood, now I'm thinking about my own parenting. Too many rabbit holes. People learn to suppress or ignore their feelings as adults. They may struggle to identify and express their emotion in healthy ways. They may feel emotionally numb, have difficulty naming or describing their feelings. This is getting way too real. And feel uncomfortable with emotional intimacy. Learning to reconnect and express their emotions is often a central focus in therapy for those who lack emotional validation as children. Can we just skip this one? Can we hit that 15-second fast forward button and skip this one? This is too close to home. But I'll tell you this. I'm not the most emotional person. I'm working on it. I'm trying to be better with my kids. When they cry, it's okay. Tell me how you feel. So just tell them suck it up. It's a work in progress, right? No one's perfect. I'm pretty perfect in every other aspect, right? But when it comes to that, I'm not perfect. But one of the biggest things that helped me in trading. So I was taught by my mentor, who also doesn't have emotions, which is now why everything has snowballed, I suppose. And I was taught that you don't have emotions in the market, right? Go into the market, it's like a sporting event, right? You go in the locker room, you leave your emotions in the locker room, you go in the field, and it's war, right? And he was an actual Marine, so it really was war for him. And I suppose for someone like me, I can do that. I have years of sports and years of, disconnecting myself from all the emotional baggage and just going out and punishing people works for me. But probably not healthy for most people. But something I learned from Denise Scholl, who is another great person in this trading space. There's another great book I have from her too. It's all the way at the end. It's called Market Mind Games. I haven't completed it yet, but it's an amazing book. I keep getting stuck and restarting, and it's a whole thing. I don't give it the time it deserves yet. But Denise Scholl taught me this. She said that as human beings, we can't get rid of emotions. It's impossible, right? We have them. It's something that makes us humans. So when it comes to trading, we don't need to, and this is for people that are struggling with getting rid of their emotions, we don't need to get rid of our emotions. We want to have emotions. That's it. It keeps us as human, right? It stops us from doing all types of weird psycho stuff. What we need to do is we need to find a disconnect where we can have emotions, but we put a blockade in so those emotions don't affect our actions. And that's the key. So it's okay to have emotions. We just don't want to allow them to affect our actions. So we can express emotions. I can get happy over a trade. I get happy over big wins. I can get mad over losses, whatever I want to do, as long as it doesn't affect the current trade or the next trade. That's all that matters. Let's move on to number 4. Perfectionism and overachieving. Many adults who didn't receive adequate validation in childhood become perfectionists and overachievers. They subconsciously believe they must be perfect or be worthy of love and acceptance. They set impossibly high standards for themselves, fear failure intensely, and struggle to celebrate their successes. While high on achievement can be a positive, perfectionism often leads to burnout, anxiety, and chronic sense of inadequacy. This is very important in trading, and I deal with a lot of perfectionists in trading, which is a good thing and a bad thing. The good thing is that they are willing to put in the work needed, right? They will not be lazy with any of the tasks. If I put out a homework assignment that says, hey, identify 10 of these patterns, they will not come back with 9. They will take as much time as it takes to identify 10. They will backtest. Every T will be crossed. Every I will be dotted. They will do things the right way. The problem is this. There's no such thing as perfection in general, but there's no such thing as perfection in the markets, right? The markets are not perfect. The markets are, in a sense, it's a living, breathing organism that represents human nature. And because humans can't be perfect, and because humans aren't really rational, either are the markets. So nothing is going to work 100% in the market, right? You are also going to have mistakes. It's part of being human, right? So that's okay. We want to limit those things. We want to limit our mistakes. And perfection, I guess, would be, and this is how I look at perfection, it's not a 100% win percentage like many traders look at it. Perfection is taking 100% good trades. So it's the whole process over outcome, regardless of the outcome, right? So this is a weird example, but if I were to take 10 trades, and all 10 of those trades lost. But I went back, I reviewed, and I did everything perfect. That would be 10 out of 10 good trades. That would be perfection for me. Yes, the result wasn't where I wanted it to be. And some of you guys are looking at it like that's crazy. No, that's called a drawdown. It happens, right? You will experience that someday, and you'll come back to this podcast and be like, Akil was right. But that is perfection. So that's how we need to judge perfection. The problem with most of these perfectionists is and I had a best friend that was like this, before they even get into trading, they never make it past the strategy development part. Because they're developing a strategy, they're back testing, and they're getting a certain number. And then they're thinking, I can make that number better. And they go back, they add something else, they back test, they make that number a little bit better. And then they're thinking, I can make that even better. And then they go back and they keep adding, and they get on this cycle where they never actually make it to trading, because every time they go through their back testing, they're just looking for another way to make it a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. And although that seems like a positive kind of act to take, the problem is you're wasting time. So yes, let's say you're taking your strategy from a 35% return on investment per year to a 37% return on investment a year, right? That is great. You upped it by 2%. But is 2% more a year worth a year of missed profit, a year of that 30%, whatever I said, 35% that you could have made in doing so? Opportunity costs. And the answer is no. So my advice to the perfectionist is this, right? Start with something that works, right? Start with something that makes you money. And then while you're making money, then you can continue to revamp it. So start with that system, start trading it. Once it's back tested, and assuming you like the 35%, make your 35% during that year. While you're trading it in the background, do your little addition and your continued testing. And then if something makes it more positive, just adjust that strategy when the time is fit. That way you can still kind of inch your way towards perfection, improvement, I should say, but you're also giving yourself the time to make money. So perfectionism is big. And then like Holly said, it leads to burnout. Anxiety, right? Because you're chasing something that doesn't exist and you're always in a failing situation. It's very similar. It's tough. It's very similar to, talking about track and field with the Olympics coming up, like events like pole vault or high jump, right? So pole vault and high jump, basically you have to clear a bar. One, high jump, you just have to jump over it. Pole vault, you got to take a pole and kind of like, push and jump yourself over it like medieval knights invading a castle, right? That's where these whole things come from anyway. The thing is, right? So if you clear a height, then the height gets higher and you got to do it again. And then you clear that height, the height gets higher and you got to do it again. So no matter what, the event will end at some point because you will fail to clear a height. So you always end on failure, which is frustrating if you don't internalize it the right way. So same thing with the perfectionist. If you always fail to become perfect because perfect doesn't exist, you're going to get burnout, you're going to have anxiety, you're going to feel inadequate, all these things because of that. So you got to put things in the right perspective. Number 5, difficulty with boundaries. Healthy boundaries are learned in childhood through the example of reinforcement of caregivers. Those who do not grow up in invalidating environments often struggle with boundaries as adults. They may struggle to say no, tolerate mistreatment from others, overshare personal information, feel responsible for others' emotions. Learning to set and maintain healthy boundaries is crucial to being for their well-being in relationships. So we don't see this too much in trading, but I would say this. The one place we do notice this, and this kind of goes back to being able to defend yourself, right, is the ability to say no. Like I said, social media is a crazy place for everyone, but traders, because there's a million different opinions coming from you, right? And whenever you share something, and you want to be social, you want to share, you're passionate about something, it's good to kind of get that release. When you share something, you're going to get hit back by a million other people. Some of them will congratulate you. Some of them will agree with you. Many of them will have a difference of opinion. Some people will tell you this and buy my system and that. You got to know how to say no. You got to know how to be locked in and say, nope, I appreciate your opinion, but I don't need that in my space. Let's keep that to the outside. Or no, I don't want to hear your opinion. Or even with your naysayers when it's in the trading journey, where it's people that are trying to tell you, hey, trading is stupid. Isn't it just gambling? You'll never be successful. You got to tell them no. Or an even better example, I spoke to a trader who's getting really, really frustrated and was hurting his own performance the other day because he has a friend who is trading the wrong way, consistently losing a lot of money, like funding himself with from places he shouldn't be funding himself from, like taking out second mortgages and stuff like that to fund his trading account, only to do the same thing over again and fail. And this friend he feels for his friend. He's getting frustrated, and he's wasting his emotional energy helping his friend, and his friend has no desire to change. And I told him, sometimes you just got to let people go. You got to say no. Like, I'm not going to help you. I tried in the past. You keep saying no to all my ideas. I'm sorry. Sometimes you got to cut loose the dead weight to save yourself, and it could be tough. Chronic people pleasing. This kind of falls under the same thing, I guess. Some adults who lack childhood validation develop chronic people-pleasing behaviors that significantly impact their lives. They may constantly seek approval, struggle to make decisions without others' inputs, change their core aspects to please others, and have an intense fear of disappointing anyone. This level of people-pleasing often leads to a loss of authenticity and a sense of self. And this kind of follows up on the last one. I talk about your sacrificing yourself to help others. Imposter syndrome. This is an interesting one. Number 7. Many high-achieving adults who lack family validation wrestle with imposter syndrome. A persistent feeling of being a fraud despite evidence of competence. This stems from the deep-seated feelings of unworthiness instilled in childhood. They may attribute their success to luck, struggle, internalize their accomplishments, and fear being found out as incompetent. Imposter can keep them from pursuing opportunities and recognizing their true abilities. This is one I struggled with. And I remember I gave a speech on a college campus once, and it was completely by accident, but it was the most brilliant title I ever come up with for a speech. It was called "I Got Lucky on Purpose," right? Because for so long I thought my story was pure luck. I mean, look at my story. I'm a guy that changed majors in college because he almost failed both macro and microeconomics because he couldn't understand the stuff. I got into trading investing after college, and I did well in the stock market. But I'm like, it was a good period in the stock market. I got in where this would have been 2007-ish, right? 2007, where everything was kind of at its highs, and then everything crashed in like 2008, 9. Everything was at its lows, and then I bought stuff back up again and made a lot of money. And I'm like, okay, well, I probably just got lucky. And then I got into Forex trading specifically because I thought I could make more money with less money in a quicker amount of time. And I struggled for a little bit, and then I became successful. I met the right mentor, and I ignored him for a little bit, but then ended up doing the right things and became successful. Then I started managing money and became successful for a degree until I hated it, and then I started teaching others and became successful, right? And I just thought that I'm just lucky. I had to be in the right place at the right time, and it took me years after that to reflect, because the problem with that is, because I thought I was lucky, I didn't have a lot of confidence in myself. I was afraid to admit to others that I was a successful trader. I was afraid to admit to myself that I was a successful trader. And a lot of that doubt and lack of confidence showed in the market, where in the beginning periods, at least, I was struggling a lot with taking ideas. I'd see a trade, it was the perfect idea, and I'd be like, I don't know, I just won 3 trades in a row. Is my luck going to end? And like all this stuff that was sabotaging me. And I started doing some self-reflection, and this is a cool trick that you guys can do too if you're feeling this way. I started writing all of the things that I did to be successful. And when I went back in that journey in my head, and I'm writing down, okay, I did this, I did that, and I did that. What I saw was that I didn't just achieve these milestones of like good in the stock market, good with managing money, or good at Forex trading, good at managing money, good at coaching, right? There were lots of things that I did that led up to that. So I titled that speech, I Got Lucky on Purpose, because yes, maybe there's a sense of luck that I was in the right place at the right time. I went to the right website and met the right coach at the right time. I knocked on the right door and got the right referral that opened me up to the person that gave me all the money to manage. But leading up to that was, I worked my behind off to do this. I called a million other people, and they told me no before I ever got to this person. I spent 18 hours a day studying the markets before I got good. Like, there was all this stuff that allowed me to be good. And instead of just being in the right place at the right time, I started framing it as I put myself in position to take advantage of the opportunity when it was there. Because I truly believe that opportunities are flying past us at all time, right? We just don't know how to grab it, or we can't reach up and grab it. All these opportunities flying. The work that you do puts you in position to be in eye line with that opportunity. And when it comes, you have the ability to, boom, catch it and take advantage of it. Where someone else who didn't put in the work, maybe they're a little bit slow and it passes by, or maybe they can't jump as high and they miss it. So things changed once I got rid of this imposter syndrome. Once I stopped thinking I was a fraud, I was lucky. Once I started saying I deserve it. And for you guys that know my trading plan, what is one of the first things in my trading plan? I deserve to be successful because. Once I started believing I deserved it, I was a much more confident beast in what I was doing, and the results have been amazing since. So, do that little activity where go back and jot down what actually made you good. So last one, difficulty trusting others. When caregivers consistently invalidate child's experience, it creates a sense that the world is unsafe and others can't be relied upon as adults. This often leads to difficulty trusting others. I'm here as well. They may struggle to open up emotionally, assume the worst about others' intentions, remain hypervigilant in relationships, and fear intimacy and vulnerability. Building trust in relationships is often a gradual process for those who lacked validation as a childhood. And this is big for me. A lot of other deep-rooted events have caused me to be very paranoid and not trust really anyone. But this was one of the main reasons that we created our education program the way that we did, right? We didn't create it around magical system, magical indicator, magical courses. We created around community, supportive research sources, and then courses, systems, indicators, all that stuff around it. Because truly the most important part of trading and success in general is having that community, having someone to trust. Again, you will go faster by yourself, you will go further with others, right? And the problem is we get so many traders that have zero trust, whether it's zero trust for the market, zero trust for a coach, zero trust for another trader, because they just have these negative experiences well before they get to us. Once you can start trusting others and realize like this person's not out here to take my money, or this person's not out here to make fun of me, whereas like this person is really here to support. I can be open, I can be vulnerable. If I'm having a bad day, I can say, hey guys, I suck today. If I'm having a good day, or if I say that and people will come out and kind of not coddle me, but comfort me. Where if I'm having a good day, I can be like, hey guys, just want to share, man. 5-trade winning streak. It's amazing. People aren't going to make fun of you and be mad at you and jealous of your success. They're going to congratulate you. Once you put yourself in that environment, you're empowered, you are motivated, and you become more passionate about what you're doing. And when you're passionate about what you're doing, you tend to work harder, you tend to work smarter, and you tend to get better results. Hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. Let me know if you have any questions about anything in here, if you want to dig into any of these topics. And obviously, perfect place for a shameless plug. If you want a great community and a great set of coaches and people to work with, try us out, www.tier1trading.com. We have a 14-day risk-free trial membership. We also have a workshop coming up very, very soon. I can't give you the deets yet, but watch this space, YouTube, the Trading Coach Podcast, for more details, because once it's announced, I will announce it here. All right, hope you enjoyed the episode. And until next time, plan your trade, trade your plan. Take care.